Okay, the regular meeting of the Minneapolis Arts Commission will now begin. Today is Wednesday, November 18th, 2020.
Great. Good evening. My name is Joan Vorderbergen, and I'm the chair of the Minneapolis Arts Commission. Before we begin, I'd like to note that this meeting includes the remote participation of members as authorized under Minnesota Statute Section 13D.021 due to the declared local health pandemic. I will now call this meeting to order and ask the clerk to call the roll call so that we may verify the presence of a quorum.
All right, Commissioner Aylesworth,
Present.
Commissioner Benson, Commissioner Bedbury,
Present.
Commissioner Brinkman,
Present.
Commissioner Gary, Commissioner Henry,
Present.
Commissioner Silky Jones, Commissioner Kiesling, Commissioner Kevorkian,
Here.
Commissioner Ludwizak, Commissioner Medak,
Here.
Commissioner Smith, and Chair Vorderbruggen.
Present. Thank you. With that, we will proceed to our agenda, a copy of which was posted for public access to the city's legislative information management system, which is available at lims.minneapolismn.gov. I also did drop it in the chat in case it's helpful for anybody to look. So let's get started with introductions, and we had a little chat about this. We'd like to go around and do introductions, and if you want to just state your name and your ward, if you have any brief updates, of course, but if you also would want to participate in just sharing one thing you're doing for self-care right now. So I'll just get started. I'm Commissioner Vorderbruggen. I live in Palmisano's ward right now, and I self-care. This seems kind of silly, but I ask my husband to give me a hug, like probably 3 times a day, like a really nice big hug. And it seems like a really dumb thing, but it actually is extraordinarily helpful. And I know that a lot of people don't have the privilege to have a partner around to do that, but simple joys that help. I'm gonna tag Commissioner Henry.
Hello, I'm Commissioner Henry, Janae Henry. I live in Ward 8 under CVP Jenkins. And I would say something I'm doing for self-care is being silly, like listening to holiday music and watching childhood movies, Pixar's or animated things. You know, sometimes I feel like I lose that part of myself when I get focused on work or things that I'm doing. And so, yeah, I can listen to musicals all day right now. Now, don't ask me in 3 months, but right now, I'm here. And I will tag Commissioner Smith.
Commissioner Smith, he, him, Ward 1. I just ordered some new Dance Solution dance pads. So I'm looking forward to doing that. I haven't played that for like, I don't know, probably 10 years now, but that'll be my indoor winter workout time. So looking forward to that. And I'll pass to Commissioner Brinkman.
Hi, Crystal Brinkman, she, her, hers, Ward 1. And I go for about hour and a half dog walk every morning. And that seems to set a tone for me for the day. Very helpful. I will tag Commissioner Kevorkian.
Hello, Ellie Kevorkian, Ward 10, and I try to find levity through humor with my family. It's working. Who's next? Mandy, did you go?
Hi, Mandy Bedbury here. I am in Ward 10. Wow, self-care. Well, it was easier to do self-care when it was warmer because I was able to get outside. I'm not a cold weather person, which is why I stayed away from Minnesota for 14 years before coming back. So self-care for me is finding projects around my house and renovating. And then I recorded them because why not? And started a YouTube channel called From Start to Finish. And it started with me trying things and then not working and having to like beg my boyfriend to come over after working 12 hours to fix my mistakes. But now I've gotten really good at it and I just renovated my closet all by myself. So now I'm inching to get a new project started. So I installed my own garbage disposal. Like that's my self-care. So I'm pretty proud of that. Commissioner, I can never say, Melinda, did you go yet?
Ludwigzak. Just
Thank you.
Just think of lumberjack.
Lumberjack, got it.
Melinda Ludwigzak, Ward 8. My self-care is I stopped watching so much MSNBC and watching more uplifting shows like Queen's Gambit and Spare Parts and good movies that are more uplifting than the political reality we're all in. So that's what I do. And I will tag Lana.
Hi, Commissioner Lana Aylesworth, she, her, hers. I'm in Ward 11, Jeremy Schrader's ward, and my self-care is trying to leave the house once a day, even if it's to my front yard, which is often as far as I get, but trying to find a little bit of time at least once a week to go farther and actually go for a walk outside has been very helpful. Let's see, Lisa, did you go yet? Lisa, great.
Hi, I'm Commissioner Lisa Middag. I am in Ward 2. I go by she, her, hers. And I will just say self-care has been therapy, which I've been going to since I think July, or maybe even June. Highly recommend it, although I love all your other ideas. And I will pass it along to, I think all the commissioners have gone. So how about we hear from Tina?
Hi, this is Tina. I'm in Ward 5, and going on long walks has been something that I've been doing, trying to get fresh air as many days as possible. So thank you. I will pass it to Galgoon.
Hi everyone. So my self-care has been to learn to appreciate my son's passion for anime and hanging out with him and watching and learning from his encyclopedic knowledge. We just completed the Vineland Saga, if anyone knows that. Fascinating. I mean, I am truly interested in anime now. Never thought I'd get there, but I am. It's fun to connect with my son.
That's awesome. Has anybody not shared? Did we miss anybody?
I'm on the telephone and I'm not a commissioner, but I'm just a spectator right now. My name is Jeff Swinton and I'm in Ward 7. And like Tina, I've been going for long walks and I'm starting to transition that to treadmill walks.
Nice. I'm glad you're here tonight, Mr. Swinton. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Is there anybody else on the phone or anybody else we missed? Okay, great. Does anybody have any corrections for the minutes from, I see this as a typo on our agenda from October. My apologies. Anybody have any corrections? Those should have been sent to you. Okay. We do have one item on our consent agenda tonight. which is our meeting calendar for 2021, which was included in an email to you along with the agenda last week. So does anybody want to pull this for discussion, or can I get a motion to move the 2021 meeting calendar on our consent agenda?
Commissioner Henry, I motion to move.
Great.
I will second. This is Lisa Midday.
Great. Any opposed? Okay, I guess we can call roll call. Tina? Is that, I think we need to do, we have to do that.
Yes.
Okay.
Commissioner Aylesworth,
Aye.
Commissioner Benson, Commissioner Bedbury,
Aye.
Commissioner Brinkman,
Aye.
Commissioner Henry,
Aye.
Commissioner Silky Jones, Commissioner Keesling, Commissioner Kevorkian,
Aye.
Commissioner Ludwizak,
Aye.
Commissioner Middag,
Aye.
Commissioner Smith, Commissioner Smith,
I'm here. Can you hear me?
yes.
Aye.
Okay. And Commissioner Vorderbruggen.
Aye. So moved.
All right.
Thanks, everybody. That's exciting. Okay, and we can move on to our discussion. We did have one just agenda update that our guest speakers had to reschedule this evening. So we're going to look to see if December or January will work better for them to join us. I don't think we need to speak much more about that, but we will, Commissioner Henry and I will, and Middag will follow up if we can find any information about how to support Rojo Collective this holiday season. So more about that via email, if that's okay. Other than that, we can move on to item number 1 on our discussion, which is updates from the Office of Arts and the Creative Economy. Gogun, if you want to go ahead. Thanks.
Everyone, before I get started, is there a time limit? Because I just want to make sure I'm not overstepping how much time you've allocated for this item.
Yeah, and I apologize that we haven't been itemizing things by the minutes, but I think tonight we were going to try to wrap up around 6:30. So if you could take, I would say safely between 10 minutes or 15 minutes at the most, if that's okay.
Sure, sure. And I guess in the interest of time, I'm going to ask if you can hold your questions until I've gone through each item. Some are really quick and others a little bit more lengthy. Unless you'd like me to stop after each item, let me know how you want to manage questions.
I think it's okay for you to go through your updates and for us to take
Okay.
notes, and we can manage questions after
Awesome.
that. Yep.
So regarding program updates, when I spoke with Commissioner Kevorkian, we decided that the best update for me to provide was on the Creative City Making Creative Response programming. So I'm going to talk about that particular program and just provide a quick summary for those who don't know what it is. So my office created this particular fund out of grant dollars that were allocated to my program from the Kresge Foundation. We won those dollars in 3 years ago, and so we had to repurpose resources this year due to the various crises that we're all experiencing. And the Creative City Making Creative Response Fund was developed in response to the killing of George Floyd. What we were seeing was a deep need in the community for artist-supported engagement and healing, and especially racial healing, targeted at communities that have been historically traumatized by racism. So in June, we released the fund. We invited former Creative City Making artists to apply for these dollars. We had $100,000 to spend and on advisement with our funder, and we went ahead and approved 10 projects. These projects were not restricted by geography. We actually funded 10 teams of people who proposed a range of projects. We had a project, for example, on Lake Street, a pop-up beauty salon, and it was called Haircuts for Change. We had projects in North Minneapolis, neighborhood-based projects whereby artists made all of the silverware, the cutlery, and all of the items that were then the community was served a beautiful meal while performances happened in the streets. Really, the projects were targeted around the idea of how can we support communities at this time of extreme stress and a need for healing, and the artists came up with what those were, and we wanted artists who were in the communities that were the most stressed. The projects are still, quite a few of the projects are still going on, but we expect completion by December 31st. These funds have been very, very popular, and there's been quite a lot of interest in them. We partnered with Arts Midwest to disperse them so we could get them out quickly into the community, and we'll be blogging about what has happened in each project. And we've documented the work too. So we expect to get information out. So if people sign up for the ACCE newsletter, you'll be able to just get ongoing information. For example, we had one team at 38th in Chicago recently doing community engagement around healing and safety. So and that was Monquay Dorsey and Griffin Jeffries who led those events, and some of them were restricted to BIPOC communities and others were open and in the public square. So I just want to encourage folks to learn about them as we are able to report out and let the community know as well. So what we also, the Arts, Culture and Creative Economy Office was also awarded $150,000 from repurposed dollars from the police department in the 2020 budget revision by City Council, again, for the purposes of artist-led healing. And that actually happened at the same time that we were releasing these funds, these grant dollars. And we've decided to make that an open call process, so not restrict it to the Creative City Making program, but make that an open call where artists in the community can demonstrate that arts and culture provide resources for safety and healing to communities. So we will be expecting to expend those dollars sometime in 2021. We have encumbered them again to ensure that we have access to them, but we don't have the ability at the moment to go through the application process and selection process. And we'll come to you when we have everything set up, and we hope that we can have Arts Commission members serve on those committees for selection. So that's programming updates. The next item is cultural districts and Arts Commission intersections. So the cultural districts work, I think commissioners may be familiar that the cultural districts ordinance was passed and the geographies were determined by council in August. Outside of that action, there has been no coordinated plan that I'm aware of for cultural districts. I sit on the executive committee for that work, and so I would expect a coordinated plan where, as departments, we would know how to work together and what each work is to come to that committee, and nothing's come to that committee. I do know that CPED has been in charge of cultural districts work, and there has been quite a bit of staff turnover in cultural districts leadership. So meaning the head of planning was leading it, and then the head of CPED took it on, and then the head of CPED has left. And so there's been quite a bit of turnover, and that could be why there hasn't been coordination. I do expect some sort of plan to be presented, and when the plan is presented, then we'll know what the role of arts and culture can be. And so far, I am not aware of what the role is, although my office has some ideas about roles we'd like to take in cultural districts. So I'm sorry, I can't be more informative than that. It tends to be a little bit, what's the best word? Working in bubbles. So there is some money being spent, but I don't know how it's being spent, and I don't know who's in charge of it. I do know there's some pockets of arts and culture funds in CPED, but they're not coming to the Arts Commission for it at any way. But it's because it's through the business development work that happens through CPED. So I'm just not aware or in coordination with what's going on, to be honest. I think the best folks to ask is CPED, Eric Hansen would be the best person, or maybe Sean Pierce from the mayor's office, who would probably have a more comprehensive view of what's going on. CARES Act funding. So I had reported to the Arts Commission that the city had received CARES Act dollars, and with hope that we could earmark some of those dollars for arts and culture support, especially those arts and culture entities that were having difficulty opening or had no funds to open, no extra cash, that kind of thing. CARES Act dollars have now been allocated, and my understanding from the Intergovernmental Relations Division of the city is that they were devoted to homelessness and supporting homeless causes. I also checked with the mayor's office on this. So no funds were earmarked for arts and culture, and those funds have now been committed. And in the 2021 budget update, this is a little bit more of a longer update from me. What's going to happen in 2021, there's quite going to be an impact to the Office of Arts, Culture and the Creative Economy, that we will lose 2 staff. The situation there is that my office, in among other divisions of the city coordinator, has a number of grant-funded staff, and these staff happen to be BIPOC staff. There's about 7 positions. And these staff also work on projects and programs devoted to eliminating racial disparities. So the 2 staff in my division work on creative city making, in among the other things they do. We requested to transition these staff onto the general fund in our mayor's budget request, and unfortunately the mayor did not support that request, and therefore these 2 staff will be eliminated because the grants will run out next year. We did go back to our funder to ask if we could continue to use the existing funds and stretch them out into next year, because we were initially told we had to use them up by January of 2021, and the funder agreed to September. So we could keep those positions on, but it doesn't actually stabilize the work in my office. So it's very hard to plan and to create any stability. There are 4 council members interested in not just stabilizing my office, but stabilizing the arts and culture work in the city overall, so that it doesn't become a victim or get eroded by the city's budget deficit. So there are some considerable, as you know, there's a considerable budget deficit in the city, and this is what's driving a lot of these decisions. Those 4 council members, Ellison, Cano, Reich, and Jenkins, have put together a resolution which will be enacted on by the council, and it will go public very soon. The resolution actually basically supports arts and culture within the city enterprise, recognizes the difficulties that the arts and culture community has been experiencing due to COVID, and then recognizes the resources that arts and culture are being asked to provide due to civil unrest and the killing of George Floyd, and essentially seeks to coordinate that work better within the city enterprise and then stabilize that work so it doesn't become eroded by budget decisions. Excuse me. So that resolution is currently being developed, and I will certainly provide you with the public link once the city clerk publishes it. What will happen is that resolution will go through, and I expect one or maybe all of these council members to, during budget markup, to then bring on the issue of transitioning these 2 positions onto the general fund. So that's my update. I know there's a lot there. I'm hoping there's enough time for questions.
Thank you. I'd love to open it to the commissioners to be able to have a moment to ask some questions. Commissioner Henry, I see was your hand up? No, okay. Does anybody want to speak up and go into any follow-up questions? Commissioner Madej?
Thank you. Gulgun, I would love to hear what those of us who are maybe in wards or represent wards that were not included as a part of the shared motion that's going to be put forward before council, if there's a specific request we should make of our council members to consider this closely, to advocate for it, like how can we support the success of that proposal through council?
I think the first step is that you look at the resolution as a body and decide if it's something you want to do. I don't think it's my place to tell you what to do. But if you do decide what to do, we think the best thing is to reach out to your individual council members to request their support. That would be the most obvious thing. And or the commission could decide to come to the budget markup meeting, which I believe is December 2nd or 4th. Tina can remind us when that is, but it's early December. And if, because it's two things. First, it's the resolution, we'd like support of the resolution. And the resolution, as I want to remind you, isn't simply about my office. It's really about stabilizing arts and culture work in the city as a whole, and then consolidating them, and also completing the work of the arts work group that was started but wasn't finished. And so we want to ensure that that reorg can happen and that it doesn't get a sort of a default because of budget eliminations that people are working on. So we don't want it to suffer because of that. So we want it to be efficient. We want it to be in one place. We want it to be more visible. And we want it, honestly, to connect to the Arts Commission work more meaningfully so that the Arts Commission can be the oversight body for the whole and not the pieces. And therefore, that's the whole thing. And that's the first step. The next step would be the budget. And then within the resolution, we talk about subsequent steps to then bring forward ways in which the changes will happen and how they'll happen. So those will happen in the first quarter of 2021. But without stability, it's very hard to participate. My office to participate will essentially be losing all of our communication. So we won't be able to provide any more newsletter updates or newsletters or social media. We won't be able to provide artist business services and business assistance, technical assistance in the way we've done working with Flow and Black Business Week and various other things. We won't be able to provide creative city making services, and we'll probably have to outsource any kind of funding like the Creative Response Fund because it will be down to me. I'll be the only person left in the division doing the work, and I'll be very limited in what I can do. So those are the impacts, and we want to stop the erosion at this point. So I know I've given you more than you need, but I think reaching out to council members would be a good thing to do, and I'll let you decide how you want to do that as a body, if that's something you want to do, and then how you want to do it.
I think with us having just completed our first round of council member communications, and this only being brought to our attention now, which I really appreciate, Gulgun, I question if it isn't a follow-up item to say, this is something we're aware of that's happening. We want to be involved. We want to support. It's also part of the ordinance in which we are, operating from, that we are part of these discussions and that we are advocates. So I'm happy to take this offline too, but I just think it's really important to understand that this has been something that we've been working really hard to just be able to inject the resources that exist within this group, and that we, our ability to develop relationships with our council members to either support or influence work like this happening. So I encourage everybody to consider following up with your council member, just that this is something that you've been made aware of and that you would like to be involved or know more. And if anybody has a more strategic consideration about how we do that, I mean, certainly speak up or reach out after our meeting. But I do think that this warrants us reaching out again and asking for information and asking how we support. It's fast moving. And
on the information side, Joan, I'll send you the resolution once it's posted. The agenda setting meeting is tomorrow, and it's going to go through POGO, and I never remember what that acronym stands for. the Public Oversight and Government something. I don't remember what that committee is, so I apologize. But it's going to go through that committee that's chaired by Council Vice President Jenkins. And then obviously on the internal side, staff are here to provide information to council members that need it. And we'll be having meetings with council members who weren't part of the authors, to just give them information so they can make a decision. I'm happy to, provide you with the resolution and any information you need. What I've been trying to do is just kind of lay out what this means for ACCE and what this means for the broader work. I feel like it's up to individuals to decide how and if they want to support this work at all.
Yeah, thank you. And I guess what I'm kind of thinking is that in a perfect situation, we would be consulted before the public, that we're not brought in at the same time that the rest of the public is brought in, that we're actually a meaningful part of some of the work that's being developed. So I recognize that we have work to do on our end to ensure that we're valued by our council members, and that this group of resources and people, volunteers and people who are appointed are seen as a resource that can be helpful. So if that's relationship building and conversations right now, that's fine. If there's a way for us to be able to be a part of the process before the public is brought in, that would be really great. And that would find us really operating in a way in which we are, that's kind of what's
right. To that point, Joan, I think once the consolidation happens, it would make the lines of communication and responsibility and accountability clearer. So I think the consolidation has to happen in order for that to happen. But outside of that, currently, as a staff person, I really can't share budget things that haven't been made public. I mean, I can't bring it up as an issue. If my, if the city coordinator says this isn't an issue you can bring, then I can't bring it. And so therefore, I have to wait for invitations. And as there aren't any kind of clear lines where I'm regularly reporting on these things, that sort of is the nut of the issue. And as I said, I'm hoping that the work we're doing is legislative in order to create a more sustainable and secure base where departments, are reporting to one thing. It is a need. I truly think it's a community need, and it's a need internally. But then working with the Arts Commission more intentionally, because as I said, the structure right now isn't very functional. It doesn't serve well.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments? Okay, then I think for next steps, if anybody wants to reach out about talking about reaching out to their council member to find out how we might support the resolution, our ability to be able to see what that is, what that looks like. If you wanted, if we could find out when that meeting is happening, if it's the 2nd or the 4th, is that
I can something? Let you know. I'll go back and find out the exact date, and I'll let you know. I'll send it along with the resolution once it's been approved for public posting. I'll send that along, and then I'll wait to hear if you need any information from me. So one of the things you might need from me is, what are the tangible impacts? Like I mentioned, people won't get the newsletter any longer. We won't be, and if that's useful, actually it is useful to the community to get the newsletter, I know that. But various other services that we provide in arts, culture, and the creative economy will be impacted. And so if you need that information, I can provide it. If you feel like you have the information, that's fine. And whatever you need, just let me know.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that information. If it's not too much to ask, that'd be great. More information, better.
Not a problem. Not a problem.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, comments? I see a lot coming up in the chat. Thanking you, Gulgun, for your time tonight. So thanks for joining us. Okay.
Thank you, everyone, for asking.
Okay, thank you. Moving on, we struck item number 2 from our discussion, and we'll move on to item number 3, 2020 work plan updates. I'll start with the executive committee updates. It's kind of detailed in the agenda, but there's a voting process to elect the executive committee. And Tina, you want to just, I know that what I believe the process to be is that Tina is going to email a ballot that includes who the executive committee members are currently and what their roles are, if they're chair, vice chair, secretary, or layperson, I believe are the different roles. And then you will be invited to submit your votes for who should serve in those seats. And we will need those by the end of the day, December 14th, 2020. So we'll need you to watch for that email from Tina, and then of course, be mindful to not reply all. So Tina, did I describe that accurately? Will that facilitate this process okay for us in time to kind of swear everybody in at our December meeting?
Yes, if someone wants to volunteer themselves, they can do that as well. So you guys can nominate each other or yourself, and then you guys would vote on it. So, Joan, let's talk offline about how we want to do this, and then we'll let everyone know if that's okay.
That's totally okay.
Okay, all right.
And yeah, for real, 2021, if anybody is feeling like they want to take on a different position, move around, you are really welcome to consider that. I'm really open to it. I'm pretty sure my colleagues are too. So yeah, think about what you'd like, how you'd like to serve on the commission for the coming year. It's probably a good time for you to consider if you'd like to stay on the same action learning team too. I encourage people to stick with their groups. I think that there's some value in that, but if there's some learning that you'd like to take on that's a little different than what you've been doing, I think the new year is a good time to consider that as well. So yeah, nominations are going to be welcome, and then there'll be more instruction about that. The second item under executive committee updates is just that Q1 work plans are going to be due. We are not doing full year work plans right now in this COVID era that we're living through. We can't see that far into the future. So the executive committee kind of made a decision that if we could at least get Q1 work plans together, that would be helpful. And I know that in a lot of the conversations that we've had, there's a lot of thought about what could happen. And Q1 is meaning January through March. So there's going to be a lot of work onboarding new commissioners. Our buddy system, kind of getting people seated. Those are things that we'll have to do at the executive level. So our work plan is going to be pretty easy to plot out, but might be a little bit more complicated for the access team and the policy team. So if you could give that some thought and put together your kind of your best working plan for Q1 and submit that also by the end of day on December 14th. And all of this is in preparation for our December meeting. And of course, we'll have the ability to do some discussion at exec if anybody needs a little help with anything. Hopefully that'll be a good resource for you. The next item is just that the budget, we had an approved budget for 2020, which we had to amend because we just weren't able to do all of the events, awesome events that we had planned and all the artist talks and all the things that we really wanted to do. So we update that and submitted an amended budget to Mary, who needs to get approval for that. And it's asking for gifts for outgoing commissioners and speakers honorariums for this month and next month, which may change a little bit too. But and then the rest of those funds then would be, they wouldn't carry forward. So I would like to say for obvious reasons, but because of the situation that the city's in with budgets and stuff like that, like we're just not able to do the engagement that we had wanted to this year. So I do still want to commend everybody that this is the first year that I'm aware of in a long time that or if ever, that the commission was able to secure a budget. And so I'm so grateful that everybody who did that work did that. And I'm sorry that this is kind of like the outcome, but I think we're going to make the most of it. And we can talk about this as a potential item for our Q1 work too, how we might approach that. But more to come about that. And I haven't heard back from Mary if that's been approved or not, but I will let everybody know once I hear. And then the last item, I guess, Commissioner Henry, maybe if I could pass the mic to you just about where we're at in the conversation about investigating a pay structure for the commission.
Oh, sure. So when it comes to advocating for ourselves and getting paid as commissioners, there is some routes that we need to take. And I found out that it's a redirection now from who I thought would be the best person or contact to speak with in regards to that, or department. So it looks like, we're kind of waiting to hear from two people in the city of Minneapolis to just acknowledge or to look it over and think about it. With their furloughs and their budgets, staff are getting cut. Employees, full-time employees, are no longer going to have work, and so their focus is on those things and not on commissions that would like to be paid. So also, we're battling with other commissions who are also advocating for themselves for payment to do this work with the city. So we're still gunning for it. It's an ongoing conversation. I just want to let you know that those are two things that we're up against. Is other commissions are asking for the same thing, which doesn't move me any. And also that I found out some other contacts are better fit for this conversation, and they are reviewing our suggestion. So any other ideas or rebuttals or anybody that needs to vent their frustrations about this conversation about being paid as commissioners can always call or email me. I'm always here to listen and to be an open ear, because sometimes there's perspective that I don't know or ideas that, could help advance this conversation and move us forward further than we are right now. As you heard from Gogun, it still is, to me, a longstanding stereotype that arts is not as important as other sectors of the city. So yeah, hit me up. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Henry, for your leadership on this too. I really appreciate that you've been pretty undeterred with every door that's slammed shut or every no that we've gotten, or just like, I don't think you should pursue this. Like, it's just really inspiring that you keep on kind of investigating what's possible. So we'll stick with you and figure it out. And I think we all really agree that especially from retaining BIPOC commissioners and commissioners that maybe have additional barriers in the city, that this is an equity issue also, that we need to honor people's time and that there are barriers for people to be able to participate. So it's great. I'm glad you're leading the charge. Thank you. Okay, any other comments? Thanks. And thank you, Commissioner Brinkman sent her gratitude to Commissioner Henry, so in the chat. So the next item on our agenda would be policy and advocacy work plan updates. Commissioner Ellsworth, you want to lead that for us?
Sure thing. Just first of all, another extend of thank yous to everyone who reached out to their council members. If anybody had heard back in the meantime from last meeting to now, feel free to forward any interactions with your council members. The update is that, everything's up to date as it was. We have an Excel document just to kind of track who we've reached out to and which council members we've heard back from. In addition to like the quick notes in that Excel, I also have a Word document that's on SharePoint and Teams that outlines some of the primary points that each of our council members make, just so that we can track those interactions. I thought Golgun's feedback today was super helpful. I was going to suggest that we could all send a quick thank you note to our council members, just as like a repeated follow-up, like, hi, we're still here. Just another reason to think of our name along with the arts. And I think that that's very important too in a time of Thanksgiving, but in a time of just repeating that so that it's at the tip of the tongue for everyone. We have our next little citizen is right here for a moment to say hello. But I think what I want from everyone is to just review and make sure that the notes that I've recorded accurately reflect what you heard from your council members. And I think one other point that was really striking for me was that my council member, Jeremy Schrader, who seems to be a great arts advocate, although he was not one of the 4 council members that was listed, for this support for the new the new resolution that Golgun is mentioning. So that was a bit of a surprise to me too. Like, what do I do with that? I'm thinking about this in real time. And one thing that came back to me was an idea that the arts are beyond a budget. Like, they're going to be there even if they're not in the budget. And this is an idea that I've heard circulated, not just from this conversation, but from many. And I'm ready to be a bit of a poker, if you will, to find reasons to say hello and to keep arts at the forefront of everyone's brain. If you can think of any other ways to do that, you know, policy and advocacy is all ears. Anytime you have anything to share, feel free to email us. But I'm going to drop in the chat the links for those documents, because I know SharePoint can be its own magical wonderland. So if you have any questions, I can also email them. They're available on SharePoint and Teams. And I appreciate your time and your continued feedback and outreach.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Aylesworth. And I just wanted to say too, for those who are a little bit more technical, you have been so generous. And I think I sent my feedback in a Word doc via email. And so I know that Commissioner Aylesworth is like willing to work with you where you're at. So if you do send another note to your council member to follow up, we encourage you to utilize the documents that are there that help to organize those notes. But if nothing else, just send Commissioner Aylesworth a quick note that you reached out, what transpired, if you heard back, if you didn't, because it's just really helpful for us moving forward to really have a better understanding of who is engaged with us and who isn't as we begin to make a policy agenda for our commission. So if that makes sense. Okay, thank you so much. Next, we are moving on to access and engagement ALT updates. Commissioner Middag.
Sure. So hello, everybody. Item number 1 is really a result of our conversation at exec about those changes that Golgun sort of contextualized for us about the work in the cultural corridors being connected with the Great Streets program. So Great Streets is an economic development initiative at the city. It is not an arts focused program, although there are ways that artists are sometimes deployed for Great Streets purposes. And so our goal, and it sounded from our conversations with Sean Pierce at exec, it wasn't an unrealistic one, to see if we could go about making sure that we had representation on the Great Streets sort of grant review process for the map. And so this is sort of an ask to folks who are particularly interested in this. If there is someone who would like to serve on a review committee for the Great Streets program. I know Joan and I have often been applicants. So we may not be the ideal folks for this, because we'll probably be applicants in the future as well. But for those of you who see the connection between prosperous, invested communities and the arts, and I believe we all do at this point, this is where the rubber might hit the road in financial support at the city. So I do think you can go online and see information about the Great Streets program. That, of course, is the original framing for it. And so you could kind of, though, look at it in terms of what its requirements previously were. And it'd be great to think about ways that the arts can be more utilized as a resource when looking at even the outcomes that that program lays out. So again, if folks are interested in serving, oh, thanks, Joan. If folks are interested in serving, it would be a matter of, I think we could say Janae and myself, as folks who are trying to represent for access and engagement, would be happy to hear from folks who wanted to participate in that. Item number 2 is really about our efforts to continue to raise artists and arts collaborative voices in a very challenging situation during our meetings during the time of COVID. And for folks who will remember our very optimistic launch of our being in community, maybe like once a quarter we were thinking last year, and the last time we were, remember how heady those days seem now, because anyway, I'm very sorry that the team from Rojo wasn't able to be here tonight. That was our original plan. I do know that their program that they had been planning for downtown, just in response to the escalation of COVID in our environment here in the state, was to sort of pivot their program, which was going to be an in-present, a presence program in a downtown space, to something else. And we're kind of waiting to hear what that something else is. And we'll be happy to pass along whatever information we get that can be helpful. I would say follow Rojo Collective, pay attention to what they do, and to the extent that they offer anything up between now, well, whenever they offer it, but especially between now and the end of the year, if we can raise that up for them, we'll be happy to do that. And their work has been so interesting. We're also hoping to hear from them maybe in December, maybe in January. It will depend on their capacity and how well they are feeling. But we will ask them back again. And we are also talking about potential speakers for into the future. Item number 3, just to wrap up kind of quickly, also in follow up with our exec meeting, it sounded as if Sean Pierce sort of demurred as far as who it would be ideal to have come forward and tell us about the SREEP. I know she named someone who is in the Racial Diversity Office. I will cede to Janae, who has this for us.
Yes. So the best person to speak with, it looks like, I believe her name was Jackie. I'm skimming through notes as trying to pull this up before you guys lose. Larice Reed, staffer who is already giving presentations on SREEP to other staff and departments within the city of Minneapolis. So Larice Reed is a contact that I will follow up with to find out when they can speak with us. Hopefully this will be a great way for us to really include the new applicants or people that make it through and join us for MAC in 2021 to hear about SREEP and the programming that's going on. So there are a couple links that I can share that was provided to us during that meeting, but I do feel that a conversation and presentation from Larice would be the best way to go about this. So thank you, Lisa.
Awesome, that's great. I do think that a lot of the updates that Access just provided are looking to be like really good Q1 opportunities. So the Great Streets panelist position, or even being a part of the Great Streets advisory panel, however they're constructing that, will be likely a Q1 opportunity, and Larice coming to talk to us as well. And those will be great to possibly even interject some of the new commissioners if they're comfortable, or at least have those presentations made with our new folks who will be joining us. And that's a perfect segue to item number 4, which I will hand off to Commissioner Henry to just give a quick update about where we are at with the new commissioners.
Yeah, so this week we're closing out with interviews beginning the interview process anyway, with the applicants that have made it through the first of us reviewing their applications and consideration for, their visions and what they do for the city already. So I'm excited to find out a little bit more about each and every one of them. And we look forward to, seeing what happens next after that. I would say we will all obviously have a good idea by the end of next week, and decisions would be made then before Thanksgiving. Big ups to all the people who applied. Woo woo.
Can I ask, is there a folder with the applications available that we can look through them?
The committee is reviewing those applications. It would have been great to have you, Ellie, as a part of the committee for the nomination process. So that is closed right now, only to the people who did, have the capacity to become a member of the nomination process. So maybe in the future, I'm not sure, I can revisit that with Joan to see if after they've gone through, if we can open it up, to provide the applications for the people that were selected to the commission so that they can review the words and the messages that they had to share that got them through. So maybe that's an idea, Tina and Joan. I'm not sure what feel about that.
Yeah, I think we should circle back with Tina to see, but like for those individuals who are coming on, I think it would be great for the rest of our commissioners to be able to see their applications and just get a brief overview of who they are and what ward they live in and some of the things that they want to advance for the body. So I think that's a great idea. Awesome, thank you. Okay, thanks for those updates. And then I don't know that we have updates, but Commissioner Henry, do have an item on our agenda just about if there's been any movement in the George Floyd group or not. Do you just have any updates to share or not?
So no, at this time, I don't have any updates from what we spoke about in October. Again, the George Floyd Memorial has been just set back for, I believe, 2021. Especially now that COVID is ramping up, and they're still working on plans for 38th and Chicago.
Thank you. And thank you too for continuing to make yourself available for that group and continuing to reach out to your council member and, you know, just keeping those lines of communication open. I think on behalf of everybody, like, we really appreciate that you've kept up with it, even though there hasn't been a lot of updates. It's just, it really matters a lot. So thank you, Commissioner Henry. So look at us. We've made it to our last item on our agenda. Ha! I love how we sometimes, when we say like, let's try to wrap at 6:30, like then it just like, we will it to happen, right? Okay, so the next item, and then I am gonna quickly discuss our December meeting goals, but I would like to ask Commissioner Brinkman to provide us with a little update about what is happening with outgoing commissioner requests.
Hey everyone, my internet is being wonky, so I had to turn my video off, but I've been here. Thank you, Joan. So we have some outgoing commissioner plans. So if you're not an outgoing commissioner, stay tuned for ways in which you can contribute. But we are going to take advantage of the revolutionary budget that we got this year, and use it in ways that we're feeling good about. So please stay tuned for some action steps. Thank you.
Thank you too. And I just want to affirm that you will be seeing a little bit more activity in your inboxes between now and our next meeting. So you need to watch for whatever the nomination processes that Tina and I will advance. Also, you know, you may be getting a request from Commissioner Brinkman on behalf of the Outgoing Commissioner Recognition Committee. That I don't think we formalized, but we did get together and we have some great ideas. So we might be making some requests from you. So please keep an eye on your inboxes and respond accordingly. And of course, adhere to the open meeting rules. And then lastly, there's some notes here. I included December meeting goals just because it just feels like it's kind of a lot and we want to make sure that we get everything in for end of year. So we will try to accomplish our executive committee nominations for 2021. We will also move forward, and we feel pretty good about us being able to move forward with 2021 MAC commissioner nominations, new commissioners for new seats. Our 2021 Q1 work plan approval, so we will formally adopt those Q1 work plans. And then, of course, the recognition of outgoing commissioners and a little bit of holiday celebration time. So yeah, I would say in addition to watching your inboxes, to feel free to bring your beverage of choice to our next meeting, and we shall hopefully be in a celebratory, we did it, we closed out this awful year, and accomplished much of the goals and the amended work plans that we'd set out to accomplish. So it'll be something to be very grateful for. So any other comments, questions, parting messages? Commissioner Henry?
Okay, so I do want to leave this with you all as I continue to work for us to get payment, is that remember that the city generates so much, or the arts generate so much money for the city. Going into the holiday season, if you have capacity, please see these shows that are streaming online virtually at these venues, at the arts venues, because artists still need support. But then also, this makes our city great. So remember that anytime anybody tries to denounce what the Art Commission is doing or what you're doing here with us, right on. That's all I got to say.
And also too, feel free, you are able to communicate with your action learning teams, your subcommittees, and even send an email to the commission body as a whole if you want to let Tina know if there's information you want to share. Let's shop local. Let's support our artists. Let's support BIPOC artists this holiday season. I think we all can really align with that. So thank you for that message, Commissioner Henry, and let's really support everybody during this difficult time and enjoy the gifts that the wonderful gifts and talents of all the artists in our city. So with that, I think, did anyone have anything else they wanted to add? Okay. All right. With that, we have completed all items on the agenda for this meeting. I will ask members and staff if there are any other matters to come before this meeting. If not, and without objection, I will declare this meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody. See you in December.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Be safe out there.
Wear your masks.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Hi. Oh, no. Okay.